Hello my friends and welcome to my channel. My name is Kelly Dale with Off the Beaded Path. I have a studio location in Forest City, North Carolina, and I have a website called offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com. Now, if you joined me last week, you'll know that we made this three-dimensional rectangle. Well, today I'm going to be showing you how to make a really simple square stitch bell that you can add to the top of it to make these into earrings. Now, the thing is, like I said last week, this bell can actually be made larger, and I'm going to tell you how to do that. But it can be made larger, so you can use it for other projects, not just our little three-dimensional rectangle that we did last week. So here's what you're going to need for today's project. You're going to need some size 11 Delica beads. It's going to take less than a gram of those. Now, I'm actually going to use and make a bell for this specific one that I did in last week's video. And I'm going to be using my accent color, which is my corner colors, to make the bell, okay? You can use whatever color you want, but that's what I'm choosing to use for the bell. Along with this, you are going to need about 1.5 yards of your thread. You can use the 1G like I used in last week's video. You can use dragon thread, fireline, whatever you want to. You're also going to need a size 12 beading needle, and I will caution you, absolutely caution you, this bell is very tiny, okay? So you are going to feel like you're all fingers and thumbs trying to make this bell, but I promise you, it's wonderful. It's square stitch, which I've done a lot the last couple of weeks, so you guys will be familiar with the stitch, and you'll have it done in no time flat, I promise. So let's go ahead and get started. So you can see our little square stitch bell is going to have a little bit of an elongated diamond shape. And your thread is going to matter because you are going to see thread on the outer sides where your beads are at. You're going to see some thread there. So you'll want to pick a thread that's going to look good with your project, all right? It's kind of like the square stitch project a few weeks ago. Thread makes a huge difference in the way it looks. So I've got my needle threaded with about 24 inches of thread. And you can thread on a stop bead at the end if you would like. You can also, if you have one of the little tiny bead stoppers, you can put this on as well. All this is going to do is just to stop our beads from falling off. And I'm going to thread on 8 of my size 11 seed beads. Now, you're wanting to use your 11s. I'm using 8s, so it's easier for you to see for the project. So I've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so again, 2, 4, 6, 8. And I'm going to bring these down. Now, I'm going to start working in square stitch. So that means we're going to be working in the opposite direction. So I'm going to pick up one bead, and I'm going to come back through the exact same bead that my thread is currently exiting to make a circle. So when it does, you'll see there how the two beads should lay side by side. So I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go through the bead that I just added. Now I'm going to do this twice more. So I'm going to pick up a bead. I'm going to come to the next bead here in the base row, and I'm going to come back through just that one bead. Pull this and then go through the bead that you just added. Thread on one bead. Go to the next bead on the row and come back through that bead. Pull it through, and then you go through the bead just added. Now this is where we're going to change it up. We are going to be doing a decrease now. So I'm going to pick up one bead, and instead of going through the next bead, I'm going to come back through the next 2 beads. All right, so I picked up one and I'm coming back through 2. And then I will go through the bead that I just added. So what's going to happen is it's going to separate those beads a little bit in a V shape, and that's exactly what you want it to do. So now I pick up a bead, come back through the next bead on the row, and then go through the bead that I just added. Pick up the bead, come back through the next bead in the row, go through the bead that I just added. I'm going to do it one more time. So I pick up a bead, come back through the last bead of the row here, and then go through the bead just added. Now at this point, if you have your stop bead, you can take the stop bead off, or I'm going to take off my little bead stopper there, so that when you look at it, this is what your piece should look like at this point. So now we're going to work in the opposite direction. So I pick up one bead. I'm going to come back through the same bead that my thread's currently coming out of to make a circle. I'm going to pull this through, and then I'm going to come back through the bead that I just added. I'm keeping my finger on it there. Now I pick up one bead, come to the next bead, come back through that bead, and then through the bead that I just added. Now we're going to get ready to do a decrease again. So I pick up one, and now this time I'm going to come back through this bead and this bead. So I'm going to come through, and I'm going to come through this bead and this bead. So I'm skipping the single bead that was in place there, the single bead that I did the decrease with in the last row. So I'm adding one bead and coming back through this bead and this bead, so that when I pull it, it's going to pull it into an even tighter V shape. So I come through the bead that I just added again there, pull it down, and this is what we have so far. So I pick up a bead, I come to the next bead in the row, and I come back through that bead, and then through the bead that I just added. Okay, and I'm going to do this one more time. So I pick up a bead, come to the last bead in the row, come back through the bead, and then through the bead that I just added. Okay, so this is what we've got so far. Now I'm going to work back in the opposite direction. So I pick up a bead, I come back through the same bead my thread is coming out of to make the circle, and then through the bead that I just added. Now this time I'm doing a decrease again. So I pick up one, and I'm going to come through this bead and this bead. So again, I'm skipping the center single Delica that I did the decrease with. So through 1 and 2, just like that. Pull it through, and then go through the bead that you just added. Okay, and I'm going to do this one more time. So I pick up the bead, I come through the last bead of the row, and then through the bead that I just added. All right, so we have one more row we have to finish. So I pick up one bead, and this time I come back through this bead and this bead. So I'm skipping again that single bead, and I pull it, and this is what I have. Now I'm going to come through this top bead again, okay, just like this, and then I'm going to go through this base row again, just like this. Okay, so this is what the first half of the bell is going to look like. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to tie, just like the other things, I'm not going to tie anything off. I'm going to stitch my working thread through several beads and get rid of this working thread. Just like that. And then I'm going to take another needle and put it on my little short tail thread that I have here. And I'm going to do the same thing. I think I had burned that little end. Let's see here. There we go. So I'm going to take this little tail thread and then I'm going to stitch it through a few beads and get rid of this thread. And then trim that little thread. Okay, so this is what the first half of your piece is going to look like. Now, I notice right here, I got my thread caught right here. So I'm not going to completely redo it because I can make sure this is to the inside of the bell and then you will never see that. So me personally, I'm not going to redo it. I know there will be people who will, and that's whatever, fine. Floats your boat. Okay, so I'm going to do another piece exactly like this one. So now I have the second side complete. I've already taken another needle and gotten rid of my short tail thread. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to put the two pieces together in a mirror image. So point to point, just like I have here. Now my thread is coming out of the point that's closest to my body here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to come through the point bead of the second component and then back through the first bead of the component again. Now, if I am not making this into an earring, I would just go ahead and reinforce this a few times and then stitch to the other side of my project to then continue on, you know, putting it around whatever I'm going to put it around. So if you wanted to make it big enough that you could maybe put it around a cording or something like that so that it would hold, you know, hold like a bell would, you could do that. Now, I'm making these into earrings, so I'm going to do a little bit of an extra step. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm coming out of the bead closest to my body here, and my thread is coming out in this direction. So I'm going to go to the point bead above it, and I'm going to take my needle, and I'm going to come back through the point bead just like that. So when I do that, my new bead will sit on top, and it sits a little diagonal right now because now what we're going to do is go back through our new point bead, and I'm going to kind of hold it in place there as I pull. And then I'm going to come through the point bead closest to me once again so that now you can see it makes a little pyramid there and it is centered instead of being diagonal. So if you wanted to, you could go through and you could reinforce this again. Okay. Using the 11s, you probably won't have to do this. I'm using the 8s, so it's definitely necessary. Now, if you want to, again, I could leave it like this. If I want to make a funky, you know, if I wanted it to do like a point, like if I wanted to do this and I wanted something to hang down into my piece, I could definitely do that. The only thing about doing it this way is that your piece is going to slide. So that's the reason that I chose not to do it that way. Now, you are going to be using some of your little 15s to make your ear topper here. And I'm just going to grab whatever I've got over here. Okay. And so I'm going to pick up 6 of my 15s. And I'm going to come back through that same point bead to make a circle. Now yours is going to look pretty. Mine is not going to look that pretty because I'm using larger beads. So I'm just going to reinforce this little loop a couple of times. And then what we want to do is stitch through our beads. And I skipped one. Come back out. we go. All right, I'm going to stitch through the beads here of my piece because I want to exit down here at the bottom. I want to come out of either this bead or this bead here. So all I'm going to do is just follow the thread path down through my beads to get there. Here we go. Now, on one side only, so I'm not going to do this on both sides, only this one side. I'm going to pick up one bead and I'm going to come through the bead straight across from it to make a new point down here. And then I'm going to stitch back through to come out of the point. And I am going to run out of thread on this one. So let me add me just a little short piece of thread so I can show you how to finish that. All right, so I quickly added me a little bit more thread, and you can see I've stitched around so that my needle comes out of my single bead here. So I'm actually going to take and I'm going to wrap this around. Now I'm going to wrap it around so that the actual ear loop is down here for now. And I'm going to flip it this way so that my point is here. And the side that does not have the point is on this side. So you can see here my thread is coming out to the left of the point. So I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go down through the left side on the component that does not have the point bead. Then I'm going to stitch around. And you'll want to be careful not to get your thread caught on the points of the rectangle. Whoops, went down the wrong side there. Let's go the right side, the correct side. Here we go. And so now when I come up through the right hand side here, then I come up through it and I go through that point bead so that now that connects the bottom with a really, really nice point. So you can go through and reinforce this. And then once you get it reinforced and you're happy with it, then you can take and if you want to tie off the thread. Me, what I like to do, because if you do your 24 inches for each little side, you will not run out of thread like I did. I just used what I had left to make that last side of the component. So you will have room left that you can just stitch it through like this and then trim the thread. You won't have to tie it or anything like that. And then just be real gentle and flip it around so that now your earring bail part is up here at the top. And then your bigger part of the bail is here at the bottom. And you see it slides just a little, but not nowhere near like what that did down here. So if I flip it this way, you can see that it can slide side to side like this. Now, when you actually do your earrings, the earrings don't slide as much as on the earring as they do here on the bigger piece that I did. Remember, I used 8s here. So the earring, it doesn't slide anywhere near as much. It just kind of stays in its place. So it's really, really nice. But like I said, you're working with a lot smaller beads. So just be patient with yourself as you make that little bail for the rectangles. Now, if you want to make the bail larger, all you need to do is add a larger amount in the beginning row of an even number of beads. So here I had added 8 to start with. You could add 10, you could add 12, you could add 14, whatever, and it's just going to make the bell much bigger the more beads that you add. But you would do it the exact same way. You would square stitch so you got to those center 2, and then you would pick up your 1 bead and go back through the center 2. So the bell can be made bigger if you need it to be made bigger for whatever project you would like to use. So guys, thanks so much for joining me today to learn how to make the bell for the 3D rectangle that we made last week. Now, I do have a step-by-step tutorial available on my website, which is off the beadedpathbeadstore.com. And I hope that you will check me out on our social media pages, our Instagram, our Facebook, things like that, because I'm going to be doing a 12 days of Christmas promotion. It starts December 1st, 2022, and December 1st through the 12th, there will be something different every day. It could be discounts, it could be free patterns, you just never know. So make sure to check us out on our Facebook page and our Instagram page, as I will be announcing those each day starting December 1st, 2022 through December 12th, 2022. And if you don't know what those are, I will link it below in the video description box so that you can see where to find us on social media. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.